When the HOA president, Eleanor Prescott, saw my bright red house, she didn't just get mad. She lost it, in a way that would unravel her entire life. I can still see her, storming across my yard, face purpling, veins bulging, barking threats loud enough to send neighbors diving behind their curtains. "I'll bury you, Brennan," she screeched, clutching her leather-bound rulebook like it was the Magna Carta. You know what I mean? That was the moment I knew I was done playing defense. See, what Eleanor didn't realize, and what nobody in Pine View Meadows knew, was that I'd been holding on to a secret for 17 years, a single piece of paper that could end her reign in a heartbeat. She thought she owned the neighborhood, strutting around with that air of entitled authority, but she was dead wrong. So, when she smacked a $5,000 fine on my door for my monstrosity of a paint job, I decided it was finally time to reveal who really owned what in Pine View Meadows. That I still remember her voice slicing through the quiet afternoon like a rusty saw, my name echoing across the street as she stomped toward me. Dorothy Vance, the neighborhood's self-appointed deputy, trailing faithfully behind. Eleanor stopped at my fence, wrinkling her nose at the paint fumes as if they were personally insulting her. "What in God's name do you think you're doing to our neighborhood's aesthetic integrity?" she barked. Dorothy, with her librarian glasses catching the sun, nodded along, practically drooling for some drama. Eleanor started flipping through her rulebook, her hands shaking, reciting violations and property value losses. "This violates Section 12.3, she sputtered. "You're single-handedly destroying Pine View's visual harmony." I set down my brush, slow and deliberate, savoring the moment. Visual harmony? Eleanor, half these houses look like they were painted by a colorblind contractor who only knew 3 shades of beige. The truth, though, ran deeper. My late wife Sarah had dreamed up this exact shade of red during our first date, doodling her dream house on a napkin and calling it sunshine you can live in. Losing her 2 years ago nearly broke me. Painting this house was the last way I knew to keep her memory burning bright. But that wasn't Eleanor's business. All she needed to know was that I wasn't going to fold to Eleanor's shrieking hit a pitch that set off every dog for blocks. "I'm issuing a violation notice and a $5,000 fine. Repaint in 72 hours or you'll face further penalties, including possible eviction." She slapped a sticker labeled "Violator" on my mailbox with theatrical flair. God, she loved a performance. Now, you gotta understand, Eleanor's lust for control ran deep. There were whispers about a real estate scandal years ago, her career wrecked by a failed condo development, and a divorce where her ex called her irrelevant. Since then, she ruled Pine View with an iron fist, especially when it came to colors. But what she, and the whole neighborhood, didn't know? When I bought my house in 2008, the bank, deep in crisis mode, bundled the entire HOA common lot, the very land under every house, with my sale by accident. I owned it all, and had kept my mouth shut for years, waiting for the right moment. Harold, the treasurer, tried to calm her down, but Eleanor was beyond reason. "No discussion needed," she snapped, before marching off with Dorothy and Harold in tow. I turned to my neighbor Lucas, who'd witnessed the whole thing. "She just started a fight she can't win," I said, my mind racing ahead. This wasn't about paint anymore. It was about standing up to the neighborhood bully, the woman who fined kids for flying kites, forced Sophia Reynolds to pull down her garden lights, and once made a kid cry over a lemonade stand. That night, as the sun set on my bright red house, I felt Sarah's presence and made a silent promise. I was going to see this through. The next morning, Eleanor escalated, posting photos of my house at the community center with "destroying our neighborhood" scrawled in red marker. She even angled the photos to make my house look like a crime scene. Underneath each, she'd typed notes about how I was undermining Pine View's reputation, claiming everyone's property values would tank. Lucas jogged up, earbuds dangling, whistling. "She's not messing around, man." By noon, Eleanor called an emergency HOA meeting, and the turnout was massive, more neighbors than I'd seen at any gathering in 5 years. She stood at the podium, navy blazer pressed, voice thick with false concern, showing my house on a projector behind her. As you can see, Mr. Brennan has chosen to assault our community with this abomination. Dorothy set up a presentation on how colorful chaos kills property values, using graphs that looked like they were made by a kid with crayons. And that's when Sophia Reynolds, who'd been forced to remove her garden lights, finally snapped. "What about my lights, Eleanor? Or the Johnsons' anniversary banner?" One by one, neighbors stood up, airing years of petty grievances. Eleanor banged her gavel, desperate for control, but the tide had turned. She recommended a lien on my house for unpaid fines. Harold, trying to play the heavy, jumped up to second the motion, but his voice cracked. The room was restless, divided now, not conquered. That night, I grilled burgers with Lucas and a few others, laughter and music drifting over the fence. "She's got it out for you now," Lucas warned. As if on cue, Sophia arrived with her laptop. "You need to see this," she whispered, showing invoices for landscaping services billed to the HOA at 3 times the market rate, all paid to Eleanor's cousin. The pieces clicked into place. Eleanor was siphoning off HOA funds, hiding behind her obsession with order. The next morning, Eleanor zip-tied a laminated shame photo to my mailbox. Dorothy stood watch, relishing her job as neighborhood informant. It was personal now, and Eleanor was about to regret that move. With Sophia and Lucas's help, I dug through public records, piecing together a case. By dawn, I'd filed an official complaint, citing conflict of interest and lack of financial transparency, dropping copies on every board member's porch except Eleanor's. The battle escalated. My water was shut off. A notice for infrastructure inspection taped to my door, delivered by a guy in an unmarked van. I fixed the pipes myself, hands steady, while Sophia blasted the neighborhood email list with proof of Eleanor's financial games. The Thursday board meeting Eleanor hoped would be her crowning victory instead erupted into chaos. Neighbors confronting her with spreadsheets, photos, and receipts. Lucas hit play on his laptop, projecting security footage of Eleanor directing teenagers to vandalize my truck with pink paint. Her denials fell flat. Everyone recognized her walk, her tote bag. The police arrived, not at my request, but because neighbors had seen enough. Eleanor was exposed. From there, things unraveled fast. Neighbors started sharing stories, fines for birthday parties, doormats the wrong color, chalk drawings on the sidewalk. People who'd stayed silent for years found their voices. Even Dorothy defected, sliding her rulebook across the floor to my side. Eleanor's desperate final move was a $10,000 emergency fee for all homeowners, signatures forged on the letter, my bank account frozen, and a lawsuit dropped in my lap by a process server. I sat on my porch, lawsuit in hand, wondering if I could win against someone who'd weaponized every rule and connection against me. But then Sophia sent a link. Neighbors had raised $3,000 overnight to help with legal fees. Their messages reignited my resolve. This fight was no longer just about me or Sarah's memory. It was about all of us. The time had come to play my ace. I sent Eleanor a single email, copied to every board member. "Cease all action against me, or I will exercise my rights as the legal owner of Pine View Meadows land." Her lawyer misunderstood, thinking I just owned a minor easement. They offered me $1,000 to settle. I called a public meeting, letting Eleanor believe she'd finally beaten me. Eleanor walked into that meeting ready to claim victory. Instead, I stood, unfolded my deed, and explained, in front of everyone and on camera, how, due to a bank error 17 years ago, I'd purchased not just my house, but the land under every home in Pine View. The room went dead silent, then erupted. Her lawyer read the deed, went pale, and fled the scene. Even Dorothy switched sides. Eleanor's kingdom crumbled, rulebooks tossed into a bonfire as I dissolved the HOA with a few words and a flick of my lighter. Eleanor tried one last time to salvage her power, warning us of chaos without her order. But it was over. Within a week, she'd sold her house and left town. Lucas painted his house neon blue, Tom went with ruby red, and Pine View finally felt like home again. I hosted the biggest barbecue in neighborhood history, the legend of the house, spreading far beyond our block. 3 months later, a new family moved in, the husband asking me about HOA rules. I just laughed. Buddy, let me tell you the story of the time I painted my house, toppled a tyrant, and found out I owned the neighborhood. Now, here's where I'll hand it over to you. What would you have done in my place? Was it right to use a loophole to bring down the Queen of Beige? Or did justice finally get served, Pineview style? Drop your thoughts below, because sometimes the best revenge is living your truth, with every wall painted in the color of freedom.